Mangwanani Malelepo Vukenjani Qeqwaswanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. It is Thursday, the 12th of October, and you're joined by Ashwin Berry and Diana Master. How are you, Diana?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am fantastic.
It's a quarter to the weekend.
Quarter to the weekend, we're almost there.
We're almost there. You know, there's so much going on in the world right
Absolutely.
now. A lot of heaviness. So we will just be getting into a few of the top stories, being South Africa opens criminal case against bogus TikTok doctor. Zimbabwe CCC MPs suspended after police scuffles, and Israeli shelling hits South Lebanon after Hezbollah rocket fire. Talan Gore will also be filling us in on the news making waves in Zimbabwe a little later on in the show. For now, we will take a quick ad break and return with our top stories.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
We start our top stories in South Africa as a TikTok influencer in Gauteng, known as Dr. Matthew Lani, to his followers, is facing legal issues after the Provincial Health Department and a real doctor filed criminal cases against him for impersonating a medical professional. Dr. Lani, who shares medical advice on TikTok, claimed to be a graduate of Wits Medical School and the youngest owner of a pharmaceutical company in South Africa. He allegedly posed as an employee of Helen Joseph Hospital and moved freely within the hospital. The health department revealed that Lani had assumed the identity of a second-year medical intern, Dr. Sanele Sobani Vambani Zingelwa from Tembisa Tertiary Hospital. The case was filed at the Brixton Police Station, citing a violation of the Health Professionals Act. Dr. Zingelwa, the real medical intern, also filed an identity fraud case against Lani.
Now moving over to Zimbabwe, all MPs from Zimbabwe's main opposition party have been suspended for 6 parliament sittings and will not receive salaries for the next 2 months. Speaker Jacob Mudenda made the call after the Citizens Coalition for Change held protests in parliament, saying 15 of its MPs had been tricked into losing their seats. On Monday, a man pretending to be the CCC Secretary General wrote a letter to the Speaker claiming the 15 MPs were no longer party members. The party does not have a Secretary General, and the letter was littered with grammatical errors. Despite CCC leader Nelson Chamisa asking him to disregard the letter, the Speaker, who is an MP for the ruling ZANU-PF party, declared the 15 seats vacant. As a result of Mr. Mudenda's decision, CCC MPs disrupted parliamentary proceedings for nearly 2 hours. According to CCC politicians and local media, riot police were summoned to the chamber.
Now, Israeli shelling hit southern Lebanese towns on Wednesday in a response to a fresh rocket attack by powerful armed group Hezbollah as cross-border violence extended into the 4th day. Hezbollah said it had fired precision missiles at an Israeli position in response to the killing of its members in Israeli shelling earlier this week, pledging decisive responses to attacks on Lebanese territory, especially deadly ones. The Israeli military said it was attacking Lebanon after one of its northern positions near the Israeli town of Arab al-Aramshe was targeted with anti-tank fire on Wednesday. It did not immediately provide details on casualties. A Lebanese security source said Hezbollah fired 2 precision missiles into Israel. Residents of the southern Lebanese town of Remesh said Israeli shelling hit nearby. A security source told Reuters that Israeli artillery rounds were hitting the rocket launch point around Dairia across the Arab al-Aramshe.
Now, only 3% of Ethiopia's high school students have passed their university entry exam, the Education Ministry announced on Monday. Of the 845,188 students who participated in the matriculation examination, only 27,000 students have achieved the 50% required for admission to university, the Ethiopian news agency quoted Education Minister Birhanu Nega as saying. This means that only 3.2% passed the exam, a decrease of 0.01 percentage points compared to the last school year. Nearly half of the schools had no students score the pass mark. Addis Ababa University lecturer Meseret Asefa said the poor results were in part due to lack of adequate teaching materials and limited learning and teaching methods. Hailing efforts to curb cheating in the examination, he said there was a lack of focus in addressing the root cause of the mass failure. According to the United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, Ethiopia has made significant progress towards universal primary education, with at least 88% of the country's children enrolled in primary school in 2021 to 2022.
You know, that being said, when you look at the failure rates in Ethiopia, in 2020, Ethiopia went into conflict with the Tigray region, and this was around the same time they were dealing with COVID-19. So a lot of countries had bad exam results, rather, simply because of COVID-19. So imagine what happens when it's COVID-19 and a war. Now, in the last of our top stories, during a press conference on the occasion of the IMF's annual meeting with the World Bank in Marrakesh on Tuesday, the director of the body's Middle East and Central Asia department insisted that the institution picked up speed to respond to challenges countries are faced with in a shock-prone world. The IMF is also stepping up. Between 2020 and today, the fund has provided about $80 billion through programs, emergency financing, and SDR allocation. Now, 6 countries have also had arrangements approved under the newly launched Resilience and Sustainability Facility, including most recently Morocco. This year's talks are taking place in Morocco until October 15. That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Talent Gore has more from Zimbabwe after the break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
All right, so it's been getting a little tricky in opposition politics in Zimbabwe. And of course, some people say the ruling party has a hand in it. However, Talent Gore is here with the facts. Talent, so the CCC lost 15 MPs due to an imposter's ploy. Please get into that, Mangwanani.
Yes, Mangwana Nakanaka Africa. So 15 opposition lawmakers in Zimbabwe have lost their seats after what they say is an imposter posing as a party official recalled them and Parliament went along with it. The move has paved the way for violence that could hand the ruling party, which won a disputed election in August, a 2/3 majority needed to amend the constitution. Apparently, the CCC is denying that the person who wrote the letter to the Parliament is the Secretary General. They're saying that they do not have a Secretary General in CCC, and so the Parliament should disregard this letter. But apparently, Speaker of Parliament Jacob Mudenda has since written a letter to Parliament saying that there is now a vacant for 15 seats, even though the CCC wrote to him saying that he should consider that letter as it was not written by anyone who is in a position of power within the CCC. They're saying that the person who wrote this letter is not a Secretary General, and the CCC does not have a position for a Secretary General. So now the Parliament is saying that they have 15 vacant seats, and probably there are going to be by-elections which are going to be held to fill in those posts. And I'm quite sure that the ruling party ZANU-PF is going to contest in those seats, and they are going to win. And if they win those seats, it means that the ruling party will then have its 2/3 in Parliament, which translates to them having the power to amend the constitution. That is if they win the seats. As of now, the ruling party doesn't have the 2/3 in Parliament. So right now, with these seats vacant, they can have that the 2/3 seats in Parliament, which can which will translate to them winning, and which will translate to them amending the constitution, because you only need two-thirds of the parliament to amend the constitution and to enact new laws and all that.
You know, Talent, the likes of you and myself have the unfortunate burden of continually needing to critically analyze the happenings in Zimbabwean politics. So for those of you wondering if there's a letter that comes through and you don't know where it came from, and this letter happens to be recalling ministers, what you have to just ask yourself is, who stands to benefit the most? And then you take it from there. Diana.
All right, now Talent, it seems like the story is leading into your next highlight. All MPs from Zimbabwe's main opposition party have been suspended for 6 parliament seatings and will not receive salaries for the next 2 months. Talk about a shocker, hey?
Yes, apparently on Tuesday in Parliament, there was chaos in the Parliament after the Speaker of Parliament said that all those who have been recalled should leave the Parliament. But then the CCC, Citizens Coalition for Change members of Parliament, refused to vacate, and they started demonstrating in Parliament. And so the Jacob Mudenda was the Speaker of Parliament, called the police to come into the Parliament, which is not allowed. Police are not allowed into the Parliament, but he called the police, the riot police in particular. They then came to Parliament, and they tried to move the members of Parliament from the CCC members of Parliament from Parliament. And so after that, Jacob Mudenda announced that for 2 months, which is like for 6 sittings, the members of Parliament, all of them, they have been suspended from attending parliamentary affairs, and they are not going to be getting their salaries. And so the people of Zimbabwe in general, they're saying that this is not right. The police should not interfere in whatever happens in the Parliament. The members of Parliament, in particular the Speaker of Parliament, should not call the police into the Parliament. And the CCC members of Parliament had a right to question Jacob Mudenda as to why he had said that the 15 seats were vacant, and they're saying that the Speaker of Parliament should have went on with the letter that the CCC had sent to them, saying that the first letter, which was written to recall the MPs, was fake, and that person is not the Secretary General of CCC, as they do not have that position. But it seems as if the Speaker of Parliament went on with the first letter, which he received from the supposed Secretary General. So as of Nelson Chamisa has said that his members of Parliament and his councillors, all of them, they should desist from attending Parliament and council as well. So right now, Nelson Chamisa has called all his members of Parliament and councillors from attending or from doing anything to do with Parliament and also council, which is the municipality.
Yes, I mean, I guess it's understandable. It's difficult to feel like the speaker might not have been biased in this one case. However, I do have to, ask, and I hate to be the one to pour water all over this, rather. Parliament's job is to discuss the issues happening in the country. Members of Parliament are representing people, not their parties, not their personal interests, people. So if there are people not being represented for 6 sittings in Parliament, how is that gap covered in a country that is reeling from, to put it in nice words, incompetent governance? How does the CCC plan to cover that gap? And why is it okay, of course, for them to be expelled in such a manner when the speaker knows that these MPs represent people? Talent? It seems Talent is not with us. Fair and fine. But you know, that's a question to the audience. Let us know in the comments what you think. And we'd obviously love to hear what Zimbabweans think about that situation altogether. For now, we're going to head straight to the weather predictions before we return with economic news. Now, in economic news, the head of South Africa's central bank said on Wednesday that the government needed to rebuild its fiscal buffers in order to bring down inflation and that he expected domestic interest rates to stay higher for longer. Governments globally need to join central banks in dismantling the stimulus of the COVID pandemic years. Lesetja Kanyago said fiscal authorities have got to be rebuilding their fiscal buffers so that the process of disinflation is assisted, he told Reuters in an interview on the sidelines of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank annual meetings in Marrakesh. Failure to disinflate economies would result in higher financing costs for the fiscal authorities and by extension to all of us. It also applies to South Africa.
Now, Mexico asked the United States on Monday to resume trade at recently shut border crossings, citing the economic damage caused by their closure. Trade between the two countries has been disrupted by the shutdown of 3 international bridges since mid-September, Mexico's foreign ministry said in a statement. In the note, the government of Mexico asks for the resumption of cross-border trade, the ministry's statement said, referring to a diplomatic note it sent to the United States. One of the crossings from Ciudad Juarez to the U.S. city of El Paso in Texas will partially reopen on Tuesday after negotiations between the two countries, the ministry noted.
Let's head to economic indicators just before Ari Hochad takes us through the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with rugby news first. It is a World Cup 2023 that continues in France. Big games coming up this coming weekend. It's quarter-final time. News from the tournament is firstly from Wales, and that is Dan Biggar. They are number 10. They fly off. He's declared fit to play against Argentina. That will be on Saturday in Marseille. The backup number 10, or the second best number 10 in the Wales team, is Gareth Anscombe. He's still battling with a groin injury, but medical team's working on him, and he might also be fit to play on Saturday. The news from the Springbok side, South African team side, is the jerseys that they will play in, and they will play in their well-known green jerseys. They played against Ireland and Scotland in the tournament in their alternative strip that is white and jade colours. But for this Saturday or this Sunday's game against France, organisers say there's no clash between the green and the blue, and it is South Africa that will play in their green rugby jerseys on Sunday. Also news from Ireland side is Ireland trying to equal the All Black record of 18 consecutive tests, that is consecutive wins in test rugby, and that is when they play against the All Blacks, and that will be on Saturday in Paris. It's Ireland that had good success lately against the All Blacks. They've won 4 out of the last 7 games. Before that, they didn't win any game before 111 years since and then they the first time won in 2016, and that was in Chicago in the USA when they played there. And also last year in 2022, it was Ireland that won in New Zealand a test series by 2-1. Scrum half of the All Blacks, that is Aaron Smith, he warned Ireland and said that it's a totally different All Black team that played last year against Ireland, and that the All Blacks are ready for Saturday's game against Ireland. Moving on to tennis news, and it's from the men's tennis. It's from the ATP Tour. It is the Shanghai Masters taking place, and most of all of the top players in the world playing there. Number 1 seed Carlos Alcaraz, he beat Dan Evans, that's in the round of 16, by 7-6 and 6-4 to advance to the quarterfinals. And also a very good tournament for Sebastian Korda. He is number 26 seed. Sebastian Korda is from the United States, and he beat in the round of 16. He beat Francesco Gurnandola. He is from Argentina. He beat him 7-5 and 7-6. Earlier in the round of 16, it was also Sebastian Korda that beat Daniel Medvedev, the number 2 seed in the tournament, by 7-6 and 6-2. It is Sebastian Korda that will now play against Ben Shelton. He is number 19 seed. He is from the USA, and it's Ben Shelton that won against Yannick Sinner. He's the number 6 seed, so a great win for Ben Shelton. So it's Sebastian Korda against Ben Shelton in the quarterfinals, Shanghai Masters Tennis. And to close off today's international sports news, it is golf news, and it's golf from the Live Golf Initiative. It's a breakaway golf league backed by Saudi Arabia, and it was announced by golf authorities that there will be no world rankings for the players. That was the case the last 2 years. It will continue, and the reason given was that the tournament, the Live Golf tournaments, are not recognized as an eligible golf tour. It's because it's 54 holes. There's no cut, meaning that all the players earn money after the 54 holes, and it's just 48 players that qualify, and it's a closed field, so no players from outside can enter the tournament. At the moment, some of the high-profile golfers in men's golf playing in the Live Golf Initiative, and they've gone way down on the golf world rankings. It is once some of the top 10 players in the world, like Dustin Johnson, is now 121 in the world. Also, Bryson DeChambeau is 132 in the world now, and Sergio Garcia is number 375 in the world now. They didn't earn any world rankings the past 2 years. One of the best players on the world rankings on Live Golf is Brooks Koepka. He played also recently in the Ryder Cup, and is currently number 18 in the world. Number 1 player in the world rankings at the moment is Scottie Scheffler of the USA, followed by Rory McIlroy and John Rahm in 3rd position. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
You're still with Africa. Good morning. For those of you that are just joining us, here are the news highlights. South Africa opens criminal case against bogus TikTok doctor. Zimbabwe CCC MP suspended after police scuffles. South Africa Seabank head, government needs to rebuild the fiscal buffers to disinflate.
All right, those have been our stories, and it's safe to say that TikTok doctor thing is going to be
On
dissected on
yes,
Smell the Coffee,
definitely.
so don't miss today's Smell the Coffee as well. But as far as Africa Good Morning goes, DSTV 285, GoTV 25, Oneuptwo.com is exactly where you can find us. Sweda Jakanaka.